If you've activated the color settings in Photoshop and then gone to the bridge and made them universal through the Creative Suite, that's a good thing. But there's another problem here. The problem is the monitor itself. Photoshop might now know what the color red looks like, but it doesn't mean your monitor knows what the color red looks like. Now, this is an extreme example, and I wouldn't recommend doing this. But you could go into the color controls of your monitor and skew the color red till it looked like the color green. What does that mean, though? Well, besides the fact you'd be adjusting colors that didn't exist, your printer would still think the color red's the color red, even though it's green. We have to get what we see on a screen as close as possible to what we're going to do, output to print or to monitor, whatever. We have to calibrate our monitor. To do that, it's actually not that difficult, but there's a couple of things you need to do before you start. You should let your monitor warm up. By that I mean turn it on and let it warm up for about a half hour or so. As the temperature of your monitor changes, so will the color temperatures, and you want to get it into what I would call a working temperature. Secondly, make sure the lighting that you're using in the room when you do your calibration is the same as when you work, and that wouldn't be a bad thing to do all the time. Check your lighting. Number 3, and this is an obvious one, but sometimes we forget the obvious, clean your monitor screen. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it gets dust on it. It does influence what you see in color. I wouldn't recommend putting the cleaning fluid like a Windex or whatever and spraying it directly on the screen because it's going to drip down. And this is from experience. Sometimes that dripping down gets into the electronics of the monitor and shorts the monitor out. Burned hand teaches best. With all of that done, we want to calibrate our monitor. We work on Macs, we work on Windows, so I'm going to show you both ways to do it. We'll start with Macintosh. Let's go into, on a Mac, we're going to go down to the bottom with our shortcuts, and I'm going to go into System Preferences. In System Preferences on a Macintosh, we're going to go into Displays, and then we're going to go into Color. Go over here and select Calibrate. Now, the calibration process, I'll just run through it. You wouldn't really be able to tell how it works on your monitor by me showing you mine. So let's just go ahead and run through it. I would go to Expert Mode. Click Continue. What you're looking at is an apple inside some black and white lines, and there are 2 boxes on either side. The first thing you do is you actually move this one up and down until the grays of that apple match the perceived gray of the black and white lines. Now, the best thing to do is stand back a little bit, squint your eyes until you can't really see the apple anymore. It's like perfectly aligned with the color set of the surrounding area. Then this one is to remove the tint. And again, you play with that until you saw no perceivable tint in that area. That's the first time you do it. You click Continue, you do it again. You click Continue, again, again, again. They're going to ask you to do this 5 different times. Once you've got that done, you're going to go in here and select Target Gamma. Now, I'd recommend you use Native, which is about a 1.59. And leave that alone. You're not going to hurt anything. Unless there's something really bad going on, you're going to be fine there. Click Continue again and again for this. Native white point, probably find exactly where it is. I'm running a D6.5 on this particular one, and it's going to be fine. Click Continue again. If you're using your Macintosh and other people use it, they have their own sign-ons, you can allow them to use this calibration, otherwise leave that off. Click Continue, give it a name, and click Continue one more time, and then it'll tell you what you've done, and click Done down here, and basically there they are. There's my original, there's the one we just did, and you can see there is a difference. So on a Macintosh, you would choose the one that you need, and then you would basically close this out. What about Windows? Well, I'm going to be using Windows 7, so let's check that out. If you're not in Windows 7, I want you just simply to get to your control panels. So I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to get into Control Panels. And however you get there in earlier versions, it is sometimes different. Under Control Panels, I'm going to select here and tell the computer that I want all control panel items because I want to get to color management right there. That's what you're looking for no matter what version you're using. Get into color management. Inside color management, go to Advanced and come down here to Calibrate Display. It'll give you some information on what it's going to do. We're going to click the next button. Understand something. Windows works a little bit differently here, and how this works, it assumes that you have controls, which you will have. You either have a menu system or you actually have buttons on your monitor that control things like the gamma and the colors. So you need to get up to speed on that before you go further. I click Next. It's telling me what good is. What I'm going to do on the next screen is work with the gamma to eliminate something like that or something like that and make them blend in as much as possible. And you would do that with this slider over here, or you'd use the controls that are on your computer, and they would come up like in a pop-up menu. Or like I said, that'd even be buttons at the bottom of your screen. Once you eliminate those areas in there, you'd go next. And we'll go into brightness and contrast. It's telling us what we're doing on the screen. It's telling us this is a good one, that's a bad one, that's a bad one. And we'll click next. And again, you would do the same thing using the controls on your monitor to get the brightness exactly the way you want it. We'd go into here. That's bad contrast, good contrast. So take a look and then go to next. Same thing. Fix that. Go to next again. We want our grays to look gray. We don't want tone in them. So we would go next. And you could either use these sliders if they work or use the controls that are on your monitor. We go next again. And it will allow us to see the current or the previous calibrations. Now, we didn't really change anything. Basically, you click Finish. You've just calibrated your monitor. It's a little bit different on Mac and Windows, but the goal is the same. But we have the same problem on both. What's that? You're using your eyes. What's wrong with that? Trust me on this one. Your eyes are going to tell you things that really aren't true. Did you know if you drink too much coffee, it actually impairs your eyes' color vision, especially in the colors around red? You don't see them exactly the same way. So if you do a lot of caffeine, coffee, chocolate, whatever, it might actually influence that color red. If your room lighting is different, you see colors differently. There are so many things influencing what we see in terms of color that if you can afford it, and it'll cost a couple of dollars, and we're going to talk about it in the next segment, you want a more automatic way to calibrate your monitor using something called a spider. And they run about $100 US and up from there. But they're actually a very good device. I'm going to show you the one I use and how it works very quickly. And it works the same on a Mac or Windows. So in the next segment, we're going to calibrate using a device.